Thousands of years before the Targaryen conquest of Westeros, the continent was populated by giants and children of the forest until supplanted by the First Men, who adopted the worship of the old gods. During the Long Night around 8000 BC, the First Men successfully defended their new homeland against an invasion of White Walkers from the far north, after which they built an ice wall and charged the Night's Watch Brotherhood of guarding the continent from all threats beyond the border. Though the First Men of the North retained control of their territory, all lands south of the Neck were eventually conquered by the fair-haired, seven-worshipping Andals, who often intermarried with the defeated and adopted their traditions, most noticeably on the Iron Islands, where they abandoned their religion to worship the drowned god of the local population. The last major migration occurred 700 years before conquest, when the Rhaenyra lost their homeland to the Dragon Lords of Valyria, causing Princess Nymeria to escape with a 10,000-ship refugee fleet that permanently settled in southern Westeros, where she married the Andal leader of House Martell to create an alliance that conquered the Dornish territory. A mighty superpower that ruled over much of western Essos, the Valyrians of the Valyrian Freehold were renowned for their bond with dragons, magical abilities, resistance to heat, marrying within their families, pale skin, silver gold hair, and purple eyes. A minor faction among the ruling elite, the Targaryen family moved to the far western island of Dragonstone in 114 BC, after Daenys the Dreamer foresaw the doom of Valyria, which occurred in 102 BC, making them the only ruling family to survive when the 14 Flames volcano chain erupted, shattering the peninsula. After the doom, Essos descended into a century of blood, while on Dragonstone the Targaryens allied with other families of Valyrian ancestry, like House Valerion of Driftmark and House Celtigar of Claw Isle, to control trade in the Narrow Sea. Yet in 2 BC, young Lord Aegon Targaryen turned his attention west, and with a small army, 2 sister wives, and 3 dragons, invaded Westeros and conquered the Kingdom of the North, the Kingdom of Mountain and Vale, the Kingdom of the Isles and Rivers, thereafter split into the Iron Islands and Riverlands, the Kingdom of the Rock, the Kingdom of the Reach, and the Kingdom of the Storm, but were unable to defeat House Martell of Dorne, which fought a decade-long guerrilla war that led to the death of Queen Rhaenys, Meraxes, and many others, as well as the creation of the Kingsguard in 10 AC. In 13 AC, Aegon accepted defeat and recognized the independence of Dorne. After the death of Aegon the Conqueror in 37 AC, the Iron Throne was inherited by his eldest son, Aenys, who after 5 years grew ill and died from the stress of a rebellion by religious militants, demanding an end to the incestuous marriages of House Targaryen. His younger brother Maegor then took the Iron Throne in 42 AC and escalated the war, earning a reputation for cruelty. After the possibly self-inflicted death of Maegor in 48 AC, the son of Aenys, Jaehaerys the Conciliator, inherited the Iron Throne and presided over a golden age of peace and prosperity. Though the king had many children, he outlived them all and so called a Great Council in 101 AC, where the Lords of Westeros chose Viserys, the eldest son of the fourth-born child of the king, passing over Rhaenys, daughter to the elder third-born child, establishing a precedent the crown should not pass to a woman. After the death of Jaehaerys in 103 AC, his kind, amiable grandson, Viserys, continued most of his grandfather's policies, including their longtime alliance with House Valerion, which under the Sea Snake Lord Corlys Valerion became the wealthiest family in the Seven Kingdoms. A renowned ship captain who earned great riches from sea voyages to the Far East, Corlys Valerion married Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, cousin to the king. Though Viserys and his wife Aemma Arryn had a son, he died an infant, leaving only their daughter Rhaenyra, who grew into a beautiful, proud Targaryen princess, nicknamed the Realm's Delight. By 112 AC, Rhaenyra served as cupbearer, spent time with her friend Alicent Hightower, daughter to the hand of the king Otto Hightower, and developed a close relationship with her uncle Daemon Targaryen, the impulsive, violent younger brother to the king, nicknamed the Rogue Prince because he enjoyed the company of the prostitute Miseria, while ignoring his lawful wife Rhea Royce in the Vale. Yet he was also a dragon lord bonded to Caraxes, and a masterful warrior wielding the Valyrian steel sword Dark Sister. Reviled by Otto Hightower, Daemon found success as commander of the City Watch, retraining and re-equipping his guards, even giving them golden cloaks to create a sense of unity and respectability. During a tournament at King's Landing, the Queen Aemma Arryn died in childbirth, as did her son a few hours later, and so Otto Hightower seized the opportunity to enter the Game of Thrones by sending his young, beautiful daughter Alicent to comfort the grieving king. Though Otto hoped a son of Hightower blood might one day rule, an immediate heir was needed, and so Viserys chose his only surviving child Rhaenyra, breaking tradition and precedent to establish absolute primogeniture, where the eldest child, regardless of gender, inherited the Iron Throne. To prepare his daughter, Viserys revealed the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy of Aegon the Conqueror, foretelling that a northern invasion would destroy the Seven Kingdoms unless stopped by House Targaryen and their dragons. To help secure her claim, Viserys summoned the High Lords of Westeros to swear oaths of loyalty to Rhaenyra, yet the king went on to undermine his own succession plan by marrying Alicent Hightower, who gave birth to 3 sons, Aegon, Aemond, and Daeron, along with a daughter Helaena. Meanwhile, Daemon Targaryen and Corlys Velaryon fought and won a war for the Stepstones, only for the king's brother to turn down the title King of the Narrow Sea, and instead return to the capital, where he presented his crown to Viserys. Yet Daemon had an ulterior motive for returning to King's Landing, as he brought Rhaenyra to a pleasure house where he initiated intimacy until suddenly stopping and departing without explanation. Embarrassed and furious, Rhaenyra returned home and seduced her Kingsguard Sir Criston Cole to begin a secret relationship. However, when Mysaria, the former lover of Daemon turned underworld spy master, learned of Rhaenyra's actions, she sold the information to Otto Hightower, who concluded Daemon slept with Rhaenyra, causing Viserys to banish his brother and scold his daughter, demanding she marry Laenor Velaryon. Rhaenyra agreed, but also ensured Otto lost his position as Hand of the King, thereafter replaced by Lord Lionel Strong. Deeply in love with Rhaenyra, Criston Cole was devastated to learn of her marriage, and so readily confessed the truth of their relationship to Alicent Hightower, who was outraged the princess could so easily break the rules, and so sought to make her son Aegon the next king of Westeros. During Rhaenyra's wedding feast, Sir Joffrey Lonmouth, the male lover of Laenor Velaryon, accurately predicted Sir Criston was with Rhaenyra and approached him to forge an alliance. But this only infuriated the Kingsguard, who brutally killed Sir Joffrey and left for the Godswood to take his own life until Alicent stopped him, offering redemption by serving her cause. 10 years later, Rhaenyra was a mother to Jacaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey Velaryon, but their brown hair and similarities to her champion Sir Harwin Strong suggested Laenor was not the true father. Though Alicent's hatred grew over the years, she was horrified to learn her ally Larys Strong killed his father and brother, leaving him as the new Lord of Harrenhal. Yet she was dependent on his information, and so developed a somewhat intimate relationship with her spy master. Meanwhile, Daemon Targaryen secretly killed his wife Rhea Royce to marry Laena Velaryon, and had twin girls, Baela and Rhaena, only for the daughter of Corlys to die during the birth of their next child. After the funeral, Jacaerys, Lucerys, Baela, and Rhaena fought Aemond, when he snuck out of the castle to bond with Vhagar, resulting in Lucerys slashing out his eye. In the chaotic aftermath, Alicent went into a rage, causing rumors of her madness to spread across the continent. Miserable in their lives, Rhaenyra and Daemon staged the murder of Laenor Velaryon, so he and his lover, Carl Quarry, could sail away on a ship full of riches, allowing the princess to marry her uncle, with whom she had 2 more sons, Aegon and Viserys. 6 years later, Corlys was gravely wounded, allowing his brother Vaemond to argue he should be heir to Driftmark over the bastard children of Rhaenyra. Though Alicent and Otto tried to rule in his favor, the ailing Viserys judged the petition himself. With the political momentum shifting from green to black, Rhaenys arranged marriages between Baela, Rhaena, Jacaerys, and Lucerys, before declaring Lucerys the rightful heir to Driftmark. Outraged, Vaemond loudly proclaimed Rhaenyra's children bastards and their mother a whore, before Daemon Targaryen cut off his head. Exhausted by their feud, Alicent finally considered reconciliation, but returned to her old ways when her delirious husband spoke of the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy, which she misinterpreted to mean he wanted Aegon as heir. Following the death of the king, the Greens usurped the Iron Throne, arresting or executing anyone loyal to the Blacks. Kept prisoner in her room, Rhaenys was eventually rescued by the Kingsguard Sir Eric Cargyle, who abandoned his twin brother Auric, who remained Kingsguard, to Aegon. Separated by street crowds, Eric continued to Dragonstone, where he presented the crown of Viserys to the rightful queen, while Rhaenys mounted her dragon Meleys and could have wiped out the Greens, but instead spared them, not wanting to start the war. Shocked by the betrayal of the Greens, the pregnant Rhaenyra lost her baby, and Daemon made plans for war. When Corlys recovered from his injuries, he pledged support to Rhaenyra and sent his fleet to blockade the capital. In need of more allies, Jacaerys flew Vermax to the Vale North, while Lucerys flew Arax to Storm's End, where he found Aemond One-Eye finalizing a deal with Boros Baratheon. Still angry over losing his eye during their childhood fight, Aemond and Vhagar chased after Lucerys and Arax in the dance over Shipbreaker Bay. Though Aemond only meant to harass and bully the boy, Vhagar proved overly aggressive, resulting in the death of Lucerys and Arax. Meanwhile, Jacaerys successfully went over the Vale North, with Lord Cregan pledged to send a great army once winter passed, and in the meantime would send a smaller army of 2,000 winter wolves, well-honed elders to fight hard for the Blacks. Back on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra was consumed by grief for Lucerys, leaving the king consort Daemon to seek vengeance on her behalf, using his former lover Mysaria the White Worm to arrange for blood, a gold cloak, and cheese, a rat catcher, to infiltrate the castle, where they killed Aegon's son Jaehaerys in front of the boy's mother Helaena. Caught while trying to leave the city, Blood was interrogated and revealed his accomplice Cheese, prompting the king to order all city rat catchers hanged. Unable to stop the assassination because of intimacy with Alicent Hightower, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Sir Criston Cole, lashed out at Sir Eric Cargyle, sending him to assassinate Rhaenyra on Dragonstone. Though Aegon approved, he was chastised by the hand of the king, Sir Otto Hightower, not only for this foolish mission, but also because he hanged so many innocent rat catchers. Unable to see the value in Otto advocating for patience as they slowly raised armies in the Reach and Westerlands, Aegon named Criston Cole the new Hand of the King. Shocked and outraged, Otto left for Oldtown to prepare his youngest grandson, Daeron Targaryen, for a position of leadership in the war. Over on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra learned her husband Daemon was behind the assassination of Jaehaerys and accused him of disloyalty, causing an angry Daemon to mount Caraxes and leave for the Riverlands to raise an army. Though reluctant to complete his mission, Sir Auric posed as his twin brother and made it to Rhaenyra's room before he was stopped by Sir Eric, engaging in the legendary Duel of the Cargyle twins, where Sir Eric killed his brother, apologized to the queen, and took his own life. Horrified by her near assassination, Rhaenyra sent her younger children, Joffrey, Aegon, and Viserys, to safety in the Vale, along with Taraxis, Stormcloud, and 4 dragon eggs, charging Daemon's daughter Rhaena with their care. Still hesitant to start the war in earnest, Rhaenyra was seen as weak, with even Jacaerys dismayed by her inaction. Ignoring her counselors and son, the queen instead worked with Mysaria to personally infiltrate the capital and speak with Alicent Hightower to discuss the possibility of ending the war. Shocked and confused by her presence, Alicent made it clear peace was no longer an option, but allowed Rhaenyra to leave without consequence. After the death of Lucerys, Corlys struggled to name a new heir to Driftmark, as there were numerous options, like Joffrey Valerion, Rhaena Targaryen, and his 2 bastard sons, Adam and Alan of Hull. On the mainland, Sir Criston Cole, alongside Alicent's brother Sir Gawain Hightower, led an army through the Crown Lands, converting the houses Rosby and Stokeworth from black to green, before sacking Duskendale and beheading its lord, who remained faithful to Rhaenyra. As Aemond and Sir Criston Cole conducted the war without input from the king, Aegon grew angry and humiliated, with even his own mother berating him for his dismissal of Otto Hightower. At his breaking point, Aegon got drunk, and without informing anyone, flew Sunfire into the Battle of Rook's Rest, where Sir Criston fought the army of Lord Staunton, while Aemond and Vhagar hid some distance away, ready to attack Rhaenys and Meleys when they arrived to help their allies. Yet much to everyone's surprise, Aegon on Sunfire disrupted the plan and attacked first, only to be swiftly defeated by Rhaenys and her dragon. Yet just as the Blacks were about to claim victory, Aemond and Vhagar suddenly appeared and betrayed the king, burning Aegon and Sunfire, who survived but were badly wounded. Presented with a chance to escape, Rhaenys and Meleys instead stayed to defend their ally, and as a result were killed by Aemond and Vhagar. As all this went on, war came to the Riverlands, with the houses Blackwood, which declared for Rhaenyra, and Bracken, which declared for Aegon, fighting in the Battle of the Burning Mill. Daemon Targaryen then arrived at Harrenhal, where the Castellan, Sir Simon Strong, immediately bent the knee to Queen Rhaenyra. Unable to sleep because of strange dreams, Daemon went for a walk and met the Woods Witch Alice Rivers, a bastard of House Strong who foresaw he would die in this place. As the Lord of Riverrun was ill, Daemon made a deal with House Blackwood, which offered their support in exchange for help subduing House Bracken. After their defeat in the Battle of Rook's Rest, the Black Council lost more respect for Rhaenyra, who had failed to raise ground armies or properly prepare for the war. Frustrated with his mother, Jacaerys left for the Riverlands on his own initiative, where he successfully offered Harrenhal and the protection of their dragons to House Frey in exchange for military support and the use of their bridge. Unable to control her small council, Rhaenyra instead sought advice from her spy master Mysaria, who suggested they send shipments of food to the capital, turning the population against Aegon. Rhaenyra then appointed Corlys, Hand of the Queen, sent Sir Alfred Broom to re-establish contact with Daemon, and after a conversation with Jacaerys, decided to seek out noble-born dragon seeds, hoping those with trace amounts of Targaryen blood might bond with a dragon to fight on her behalf. The first attempt was made by the Lord Commander of her Queen's Guard, Sir Steffon Darkland, who approached Seasmoke but was burned alive. Shaken by this loss, Rhaenyra began a secret relationship with Mysaria, and soon learned the dragon Seasmoke chose Adam of Hull as his new rider. After Adam bent the knee, the Queen and Mysaria decided to find more dragon riders among the small folk with Targaryen blood. Shocked by what occurred, Corlys congratulated Adam and offered Alan a chance to tame a dragon of his own, but the young man declined, declaring himself of salt and sea. Though many died during the sowing of the seeds event, the blacksmith Hugh Hammer successfully bonded Vermithor, while the drunkard Ulf the White bonded Silverwing. Horrified to learn the fate of Aegon, Alicent questioned Criston Cole, who falsely claimed the king fought bravely and fell in battle with Rhaenys. At a meeting of the small council, Alicent tried to name herself regent, but even her closest allies, Larys Strong and Criston Cole, voted for Aemond. Eagerly accepting the regency, Aemond sent a letter ordering Lord Jason Lannister to march his armies into the Riverlands from the west, while Criston Cole attacked Harrenhal from the south, promising to join them on his dragon when the time was ripe. The regent also sent Jason's twin, Tywin Lannister, on a mission to the Triarchy of Essos, where he promised trade rights to King's Landing and relinquished any claim to the Stepstones, in exchange for a fleet led by the Admiral Shirako Lohar to break the Valerion blockade. When Alicent later tried to object to the regent's decisions, he dismissed her from the small council. As Aegon slowly recovered, Aemond threatened him, and so the king claimed no memory of what occurred, while Larys Strong taught him the harsh reality of living with a disability, becoming his closest advisor. En route to Harrenhal, Sir Gawain confronted Sir Criston over breaking his vows with Alicent, but made peace with the situation upon finding the Lord Commander a broken shell of his former self. Back in the Red Keep, the regent learned Rhaenyra had more dragon riders, and responded by burning Black-allied Sharppoint, during which time Larys protected Aegon from Aemond's wrath by smuggling him out of the city to Braavos, where they could live off the wealth of House Strong until the Blacks and Greens destroyed each other, at which time they would return and take the Iron Throne. Back on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra finally realized she must fight to secure victory, but was shocked to receive a letter from Sir Simon Strong, who warned Daemon might be raising armies for his own claim rather than that of the Queen. Alarmed, Rhaenyra mounted Syrax and flew to Harrenhal, bringing Aemond sea smoke instead of her son and heir. In the Riverlands, Daemon Targaryen instructed Sir Willem Blackwood to wage a brutal campaign to defeat House Bracken, but faced backlash from the other river lords, including the new Lord of Riverrun, Oscar Tully, who denounced these extreme tactics and forced Daemon to execute Willem Blackwood in exchange for their support. As their warriors gathered at Harrenhal, Daemon was visited by Sir Alfred Broom, who encouraged him to betray Rhaenyra. But after touching a weirwood tree and seeing a vision of the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy, he made peace with his inner demons and readily bent the knee when Rhaenyra arrived, delivering an enthusiastic speech to his men who cheered in response. Relieved she now had a ground army, Rhaenyra returned to Dragonstone, where she was unexpectedly visited by Alicent Hightower, who felt depressed after losing her position of authority and was ready to betray her family by submitting to the Blacks. At first, she offered to surrender the capital when Aemond flew to the Riverlands, but Rhaenyra also demanded the death of King Aegon. Though hesitant, Alicent agreed in exchange for her own life and that of Helaena. As all this went on, Rhaena faced backlash from Lady Jane Arryn, who was upset no adult Targaryen dragons were sent to protect against a wild dragon roaming the Vale. Successfully contacting the Prince of Pentos, the Targaryen children were sent to safety across the Narrow Sea, but Rhaena instead ran from her responsibilities, eventually finding the wild dragon and attempting to form a bond. Thus, after weeks of slow preparation, the continent was at last on the verge of open warfare, including the Green Allied Triarchy fleet sailing from Essos, the Hightower army marching through the Reach alongside Daemon Targaryen onto Sarion, the Lannister host marching into the Riverlands from the west, while Criston Cole's forces marched from the south, and Aemond One-Eye ever ready to fight on Vhagar. At the same time, the Blacks made their own moves, including the continued Valyrian blockade of the capital, House Beesbury aiming to counter the Hightowers in the Reach, Daemon's host forming at Harrenhal, House Frey and the Winter Wolves marching from the north, and the Dragon Riders, Rhaenyra, Jacaerys, Baela, Adam of Hall, Hugh Hammer, and Ulf the White prepared for combat. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Delacruz the Freed, Edingruir Spicy Sky Frugran, Tormus Woods Whisper, and Kyle Blitzsword. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.